Alright, course 2, we are in lesson 8 today, and we're going to be starting on page 54. And as you look at page 54, we're going to look at something called fractions, and we're going to turn a fraction into a percentage. So the first thing they do is they give you a circle and shade in one part of it. We know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 parts to this circle, so we could put 1 over 4 because one of them is shaded over 4. Well, if the circle equals 100%, then only a quarter of it, okay? So we would take 100 and divide that by 4 and come up with 25. So we could say that this is equal to 25%, right? So 1/4 is equal to 25%. All right, so that's great. Let me just give you a couple of things. All right, I'm going to use the fraction of 25 over 100, and we're going to call this the numerator and this the denominator. Alright, both are important. Numerator is always on top, denominator is always on the bottom. Alright, so if you look at a couple of other things that we note, over on the middle of the page it gives a thing called a mixed number. What is a mixed number? Okay, here they show 3 circles. 2 of them are completely filled in, and the third one is filled in by 3/4. So we have 1, 2, 2 of them are whole, and then we have this one which is literally 3 over 4 because 3 of them are filled in out of 4 spots. So we call this number right here a mixed number. A couple of things we can do with this number. 2 and 3 over 4. If we want to turn this into a fraction with just a numerator and just a denominator, here's what we do. We take this 4 and we multiply it by 2, which is 8. And then we add 3, which is 11. And then we keep the denominator the same. So 2 and 3/4 is equal to 11 over 4. This is called a mixed number, okay? And this is called a fraction. We call this an improper fraction because there's more on top than on the bottom, because usually a fraction is like this, less on top than on the bottom. So it's okay to do this, especially if you're doing mathematics that call for that. So here we go. There's a mixed number where we have a whole number and then a little fraction, and we can turn that into an improper fraction, and both this and this are the same. They both equal the same thing. Alright, so let's look at example 1. Example 1 says name the shaded part of the circle as a fraction and then as a percent. Okay, here's the circle, and then they have this. Try to do it without botching it completely up. Okay, not too bad. Alright, how many parts are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that the denominator is going to be 5, and 2 of them are shaded. So that's our fraction. So that's part A. Part B says turn this into a percent. Okay, well, here's the way to do that. We take the denominator and divide it by the numerator. And we know that we're going to get a decimal here, okay, which means that how many times does 5 go into 20? It would be 4. Okay, what in the world? 20. Alright, so it's 0.4. Now, if I get 0.4, that's not the percentage, that's the decimal. When I want to move this and make this a percentage, I just move the decimal over 2 spots, add a 0, which means that I have 40%. So my answer to B is 40%. And I got that from this right here. If I have 0.4, I automatically know it's going to be 40%. If it's 0.04, I know that it would only be 4%. Do you see how that works? Okay. All right, let's go to example 2. It says, which of the following could describe part of this rectangle shaded? Well, here you have a rectangle, okay, and it looks to be shaded just about here, okay, and a couple things they give you. They say, okay, it could be 1/2, or it could be 40%, or it could be 60%. Well, how do we figure this out? Well, if you look, it's just, I mean, halfway would be right here, and so it's up here. 40% is a little less than half. Half would be this line, so just above half, we're looking at 60%, and so you got to kind of have a good eye to note that that's the case. But I'm going to answer C, 60%, which is the correct answer. All right, let's look at example 3. A represents what number on this number line? So you have a number line, and we have 7, 8, 9, but in between we have 5 tick marks. All right, so on the 8, if this is 8, the number here is labeled A. So I would say, because there's 5 tick marks, it would be 8 and 1, 2 over 5 because of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5. All right, so that's my number, and literally is a mixed number. Okay, so really easy in order to find those things. All right, turn the page and you're going to see some measuring with a tape measure, and it's very simple as far as those are concerned. But what they do is they have you measure things in order to show where fractions would go. So let's go to the example number 5, where they have fractions. Okay, 1 over 2, they have 1 over 4, 5 over 8, and then 7 over 16. Alright, so how in the world do we figure out what these numbers do? It says arrange the fractions from least to greatest. Okay, well, which is the smallest of them? Okay, we know that half, right, looks like this. 1/4 looks like this. 5/8 as listed. If we do 8s, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 5 of them are colored. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's a little over half. And 7/16. Well, to do 16ths again, there's 8. We'll have to do 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Anyway, 7 of them, okay, is just before half. It's not quite half because 8/16 would be half. Okay, so what's the, let's see, it says from least to greatest. Alright, what's the smallest one? Obviously 1/4. What comes next? Well, we know that 7/16 is just before half. There's half, there's a little more than half, so 7/16 is here. Then we have half. Then we have 5/8. So if you have to, put them out into this kind of an arrangement, and then you can find out which is the smallest and which is the greatest, and arrange them in that direction. Alright, that's your lesson, lesson 8, and if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.